Welcome to the Recovery Lab podcast. We're glad you were able to join us. Recovery Lab hopes to destigmatize addiction and normalize recovery.
Our platform provides an avenue to share the many stories of those that have recovered from addiction, providing for the listener the most basic antidote to addiction.
Hope. All right, everybody, we're back. This is episode number 51.
51.
Of the Recovery Lab podcast series. I'm Drew Hassan.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
We are the Recovery Lab. We I almost said Area 51.
Yeah. Hey, is this the 1 year?
Yes.
Okay.
So
we haven't mentioned
everybody
anything about that.
Sing to themselves happy birthday. Recovery Lab is 1 year old today.
How about that? Congratulations.
It's quite a
Recovery
feat.
Lab.
I took a beat in my mind because I thought I was going to actually hear people singing, but the technology doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
All right, well, we're joined today by Jeff Quick. Hey, Jeff.
Hey,
Hello.
Jeff.
How
Hello.
you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
We're good, man.
So, a little backstory here. I met Jeff at the gym. Y'all can tell. I mean, he's a big boy, and I was so moved, really, by listening to the interesting things that you have to say. I thought, well, even though you're not necessarily in recovery, you've got things worthy of being discussed that you consider and talk about.
Maybe not the same type of recovery y'all are.
Right. No,
Maybe not the
but
same
Recovery
kind of
nonetheless.
what for me, there's a bug right there on your left.
That's a big one too.
It is a big one. Nice.
I thumped the shit out of it.
You really did. You really learned that one a lesson. All right. So the conversations that you and I have had in the gym, some with Drew and some just you and I, those were what really made me believe that you are a great person to talk to on the podcast, because although you're not an alcoholic or an addict, your philosophical views and your ability to your ability for compassion and love for other people really blew me away when we had those conversations. So it was just we love Cut and Dry Gym, and we love to support people that frequent the gym because we love them, and it just so happens that this is a beautiful opportunity for you to come and join us and share some of that wisdom with you that you and I talked with, and like we said this morning, this is nothing more than a conversation similar to what we had in the gym. It just so happens we have a few pieces of equipment that are recording this.
That's right.
So welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
I feel the welcome for sure, and thank you for inviting me.
And this is your first podcast experience, right?
I remembered there was one other a couple of years ago, some guy that randomly invited me on his podcast. It was a leadership based, theme, and he was doing a small businessman's little sect
that makes sense.
on this deal. So we got hooked up on Facebook somehow, and
cool.
It was like 20 minutes, and the audio was horrible. And
people.
By contrast, our audio's top notch.
People will forgive poor video. They will not forgive poor audio. So we've done what we had to do in order to get that audio up to a level that's appropriate. And
well, look, I've kind of got some
of
questions for you.
Yeah.
So
here we go.
From listening to you, I mean, you speak about topics like leadership, and you have general philosophies of life and for achievement and overcoming and keeping a proper mindset. What puts you on the knowledge train here?
Desperation.
Oh, well, we can certainly relate to that.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. That's a good question, Drew.
2000 2009, I was working in the oil field, working on drilling rigs in Texas, and I was a driller. And
So did you wrap the chain around the stuff and pull the thing up and do all that?
I've done all of that, but at the time that was not my job.
Yeah.
I was the guy responsible for that guy.
Okay.
We didn't do that on that particular rig. That's old technology that this had all surpassed. So anyway, I'm drilling on this rig. Long story short here, there was some differences of opinion between me and my crew, which led to differences of opinion between me and my bosses. And so they decided that they were going to teach me a lesson, and they bumped me back from a driller's position all the way down to the bottom at a floor hands position. I lost over $8 an hour. And any ambition that I had of being a career guy for the company was gone at that point. I was well over a year into my renewed walk with God and growing my faith. And so I just started looking. I was immediately convicted that I didn't need to be in the oil field anymore. I had 6 kids at home that I was responsible for. That put me in such a financial bind that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that would put anyone in a financial. I mean,
there's a whole conversation just wrapped around that.
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
So,
just for quick math, $8 an hour on a 40-hour work week is $16,000 a year.
So that's not nothing.
That's not nothing. Yeah.
And I worked 14 and 14 at the time, and averaged 87 hours a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 47 hours, time and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So $12 an hour.
That's a $50,000 a year hit.
Yeah.
So,
if not more.
I did that for 5 months, and they bumped me back with the idea that I would be given my position back. It was
so this was just like you need to remember where you came from type of thing.
Yep. I didn't agree with the reasoning.
Did they give you a time frame on that?
No.
Or it's just
they told me when it happened that there was another rig coming out, and I would be given a driller's position on that rig. At the time there was no time frame.
Right.
It's coming this year. The understanding was, it may be a month, it may be a year. It took 5 months. So I started trying to figure out how to get out of the oil field. Started trying to come home, looking for jobs around here. Nothing that could support a family of 8. So, I mean, I couldn't just quit.
Felt stuck a little bit.
I was for sure stuck. So I started trying to figure out, what could make me a living that could support my family, and I wouldn't have to be gone. I could get out of the oil field. I started looking at real estate in different ways. And then at the end of the month before I got my drilling position back, I got introduced to network marketing for the first time. And I dove in head first. And
well,
what exactly?
Not only just for our listeners, but for me too. What's network marketing?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess the most common thing that people call it is the pyramid scheme.
Okay.
Right. You get people that
right.
And you
multi-level marketing.
Multi-level marketing.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Selling Amway.
Selling Amway, not Amway.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And so part of the thing was reading and listening and learning how to help others by helping yourself, right? That was kind of the program within the program. And a lot of the whole idea was personal development. It took me probably about almost a year of being in the culture before I got the learning bug. I would listen to the material some, and it wasn't just how to grow your business, it was how to grow yourself. And that was really the underlying thing there. And as a result of growing yourself, you will become somebody who can grow this business, right? And so that got me started reading and listening, and I guess I got into that mid 2010 is whenever I really started reading and listening quite a bit. And man, thousands and thousands of audios that I've listened to on leadership skills and communication skills and personality traits and what is mine and what is yours. And, you know, because of that, what is the dynamic, right? If y'all are different personality types, and if I've got an idea that I want to convey to you because of my personality type, there's ways that I would speak to you differently so that I could get my...
Increase the likelihood that the person either bought into the product or
Maximum impact.
Yeah, maximum.
But within the confines of the program, yes, but just in general life, right?
Maximize your ability to make connections.
To influence, right?
Yeah.
Be somebody who is capable of influencing and that can expand their circle of influence. Yep, thousands and thousands of audios. I've read over 100 books, and just all on, you know, leadership and personal development and all of that kind of stuff.
So if somebody said, give me your top few books on leadership, what are your go-tos?
Just basic leadership principles. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends, Influence People. Dr. David Schwartz, The Magic of Thinking Big. Florence Littauer's Personality Plus. I never can say his last name. His first name is Jeff. He wrote a book called I'll think of it in a minute.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
That one's losing me right now.
Did you have success in the program?
Not initially, and ultimately, no. I did there for a little while. I had some minor success. Ultimately, I decided to kind of get out of that. There was a guy here local that was starting a new business, and he invited me to come and be involved in that and help him get his business launched. And we had discussed the potential of me being involved in a greater level and, you know, business involvement there more than just.
I would like to, and we'll get right back to this, but I would like to, for alcoholics and addicts and people in general, a lot of times when things don't work out, we can kind of beat up on ourselves and
Sure.
Not take advantage of the opportunity to learn a lesson or series of lessons. So my question to you is, as a result of being involved in this network marketing and not having the success that you wanted, what lessons did you learn from that not meeting your ultimate goal, and how were you able to use said lessons to be able to make yourself a more well-rounded person now and today that's capable of achieving, even in the face of adversity, and not being able to push through the difficult failures of life in order to achieve your ultimate goal?
So initially, my goal in getting involved there was that I could not need the oil field to financially support myself, to ultimately be, financially independent and not necessarily live a millionaire's lifestyle, but,
Be comfortable.
be comfortable. Because of what I learned there, the people skills, the leadership skills, business principles. I was not only, when I did get my drilling job back, I was able to get another promotion after that as well. I worked in the oil field for 10 years. The last couple of years I was a rig manager there. There would been no way for me to do that job effectively without the personal development skills, leadership skills, communication skills that I learned through that personal development program that network marketing taught me. There's lots of network marketing out there, lots of different companies. Their main goal was first to improve yourself. And then, as a byproduct of self-improvement, you will have an ability to grow business. So that was first and foremost. So I had those skills. I got that promotion. I did that job effectively. It was still just a brother-in-law program, man. It was corporate, and even though it was, blue collar work, it was still a corporate structure. And I just didn't thrive there, right? At the end of the day, I did my job. I did it well. I didn't feel good about who I saw in the mirror because I felt like I was compromising my own principles by upholding the company principles. And they were constantly being compromised.
That's a tough position to be in.
And I didn't like it. So, again, back to what I learned from being involved in that business, I was able to take that and go into a consulting position with another company. And I did that for a couple of years. It allowed me to be home more instead of being gone 200 plus days a year.
Right.
I still worked out of town, but instead of a set schedule, I worked event-based where, I might be gone 10 days, I might be gone 3 weeks, 6 weeks, but then I might be home for 10 days or 3 weeks or 6 weeks at a time. And so I was only working about 150 days a year, 130, 150 days a year doing that. And I was home for longer stretches of time. And one of my kids, Daddy, do you still have a job? Why are you home so much? Through all of that, years passed. My kids got older. They went to college and moved on. We had a blended family. My wife had 3 kids. I had 3 kids. And my kids got older, and they decided they wanted to go try life with their mama. So they went and moved off with her. The older kids, we ended up having another one, ours together. We had 7 kids in the house for a year and a half before the oldest went to college.
Jeez.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. I mean, the patience that takes, it's just, I don't have it.
Not patience, structure.
Okay. Yeah.
The discipline to create and stick to a structure.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that
Yeah.
brought us through any of that. Yeah, me and my wife. Yeah, structure.
That's rough.
I will never complain about having a single child. I promise you that.
He has a remarkably likable, calm, good son.
I know he's nothing like his mom and I were when we were his age. I mean, I was throwing bats and breaking car windows because I was having a temper tantrum. I mean, I was just a toxic little something, man. What were you good at as a kid, or were you a little hell? Yeah. So structure is important, huh?
Structure.
Yeah.
Yes. Patience that did come along there, but it was.
Yeah. Oof.
It's so interesting to me how people that aren't like everything that I learn is generally a result of, I mean, the first thing that I apply to it is, how will this help me in my recovery? And I've learned that, there's various sets of wisdom. And, there's the wisdom that tells me, hey, look, don't do meth, don't do heroin. And then there's wisdom that helps me kind of work through why I wanted to do meth or heroin in the first place. And then there's general just, improving my life all the way around. And it's so interesting to me to learn how a person that's not overcoming substance abuse, how they get on these kind of philosophical bents and how they want, because everybody really does want to improve their life.
Yeah.
And live according to their morals and standards.
So coming back around to answering your question. So what did I get from that? Ultimately, I didn't get my goal, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's not exactly true. My goal when I went into it was to get out of the oil field where I could be home. It took a long time. It was January. So I quit the oil field in December of 13. Quit rig work. I did consultant work for 2 more years. In January, I came home from my last out-of-town gig right at New Year's. And I had done some construction work. I made a lot of money. I got debt-free. And my kids went to live with their mom. The other ones were grown. We had one still in high school and the little one. And so my wife and I decided that it would, because I had this new one coming along and I'm missing all the same stuff that I missed with the first ones all over again.
Right.
All these firsts. And it was killing me. Doing it again. And I didn't want another one of my kids growing up that normal life is just dad's not around most of the time. And so I quit that consultant work. I started doing construction work. I took literally $100,000 pay cut. And I came home and started doing construction at the bottom, not for myself, working for a builder. And I did that for a couple of years, and then that's my buddy come and invited me to come on his business. And I was still involved with the network marketing. And whenever he invited me to come there is when I officially kind of made that kind of a back seat, and that I wanted to really give this guy 100% of my ability and effort to help grow his business and ultimately maybe be a part of it. So and that didn't go quite as planned, but now I have my own business.
When did you start this business that you have now?
Technically, my business was started in December of 19.
Okay.
Technically.
And y'all do, tell everyone exactly what y'all do.
My company is Down to Earth Dirt Work. I'm a primarily residential excavation, focusing mostly on driveway installation, repair, parking lots. We do larger scale stuff as well, but that's bread and butter is small residential straight for the customer. Some commercial, but
Yeah, commercial. That I hate commercial. They expect a much cheaper price, and I prefer to be able to make the maximum amount of money and get paid to do the best possible job. And in my line of work with commercial, it's difficult to do.
it's easier to satisfy when it's straight for the customer.
100%.
When there's not another middle guy there. I also have another company. I've got a partner. We've got a company called Waterfront Solutions. We do seawalls around the reservoir,
Okay.
in the higher end lake communities, Madison and everything. And he's a licensed contractor. He's got a company, and so him and I install. He does high end renovations and stuff on his stuff. David Graves is his name, Bella Construction. But we do commercial playground equipment installation, schools and
Cool.
municipalities, city parks, and stuff like that. Apartment
Spend a great
complexes.
deal of time at the Flowwood one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Say I wanted to, maybe not in this house, but our next house, dig a pretty substantial koi pond. Is that something that?
Yeah, I could probably help you with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's gonna be something.
Substantial.
It's gonna be substantial. Oh man. It's gonna be great.
Are you thinking of adding rehaving a
Yeah.
koi pond?
Yeah, I really am. Yeah, it was about a 4,000 gallon that I dug by hand, and it wasn't deep enough. And there's the restaurant, McLean's restaurant, right there off Hollybush. So the herrings fly over our pond to land into that pond, and I had I put over 300 koi in this pond, and those herons they saw those pretty colors and just ate every single last one of them.
Sorry, suckers.
Oh man, I hated them. I put leaf guard all the way around it and tied it tight with fishing line. And I was at work, but Marge sent me a video of this damn thing getting down on its, like creeping down and getting underneath the net and eating the fish that way. So I mean, and it turned out to just be like a snake pit. I mean, there were moccasins all over. It was a terrible idea. And the runoff from the pond above us at McLean, there's like that iron moisture that would seep underneath. But it gave me there was something beautiful about being able to build like a deck all the way around it and be able to go out there and feed the fish when I did have fish. And it was really peaceful and exciting.
Zen.
Yeah, it really, really was. So I'd love to, maybe in our next house, we'll reach back out to you.
I think
about
I
that.
still hadn't answered your original question.
We'll get to it.
Ultimately, I had to focus on what the goal was,
And stay focused on that goal.
and stay focused on that goal. There was other goals that came about, other ideas. Oh, I could do this and I could do that, and oh, here's a new goal. Here's a new dream. And ultimately, the whole point in the beginning was that I could come home and I could sleep in my bed every night, and that my kid, my youngest, would not grow up knowing what it's like for Dad to be gone most of the time.
Right.
And that's
You achieved
ultimately
it.
what I have today. By completely unorthodox from the beginning, right?
Sure,
What
sure.
I have doesn't look like anything that what I started with. So I think to specifically answer your question, I think the best way is to be very realistic about where you want to be and what your goals are. What is the whole point of, in your particular case, of the recovery? Why do I want to be sober?
Yeah, to share what I've been given so freely, and I mean regarding goals, I have some very unrealistic goals, very 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 unrealistic.
Go with lofty.
I love unrealistic though, because you hit them there with the but I'm going to achieve every single one of those. It's just a matter of time, hard work, dedication, be kind to people, treat people the way you want to be treated, work hard, and I'll achieve every single one of those goals. But there's a certain character development that has to happen in order to be able to process negative situations and speed bumps, and be able to process those as opportunities for growth instead of getting slotted into this whole victim mentality of, oh, this happened to me again and I just can't catch a break and blah 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 blah. No. You can catch a break. You just need to keep moving forward and try to process these adverse situations as opportunities for growth instead of getting in that victim mentality. So it sounds like you were able to walk through that adversity and keep your eye on the goal, and begin to really process those difficult situations as this is just part of the journey, and I'm gonna learn what I can from it and keep moving forward and use my past to be able to help me in the future to be able to handle situations. Does that sound accurate?
I think most people, they get really hung up on whatever is in your current circumstances that are less favorable. And we get hung up on this idea of that it's negative and that it's a setback and that I don't have any control and it's not what I want. Well, most days are not what you want if all you want is a circumstance that's favorable to you.
Right.
Most of my days are never like that.
Exactly.
So what are you focused on? You're not being realistic about what the goal is. Because if your goal is to have favorable
An easy
situations every day that I wake up, well, then you're kidding yourself.
Right.
And you're not being realistic.
And you'll get bored. And it's you have to have difficult in order to be able to appreciate the good.
And it's not even difficult. It's just a circumstance. It's not that it's difficult. You've got a choice to make. Not every choice that you get to make is as easy as another one.
Right.
But there is an easier choice that you can make in that circumstance. You don't always get to pick what is the easiest choice to make.
Right.
Well, you can't be so myopic. You've got to be a little more broad. You got to have a broader field of vision and a longer range goal, because you're absolutely right. If all you're looking for day in and day out are favorable circumstances, you truly are setting yourself up for disappointment.
And you're being selfish.
And you are.
And that's the issue. That's the problem with drugs and alcohol. Folks in active addiction is we are seeking comfort. We are seeking to feel okay. That's why we do drugs and alcohol, is to feel okay, because drugs and alcohol fix the problem deep inside. They fill that hole for a short time until they stop filling that hole, and then you can't stop, and your life becomes a train wreck that's out of control. So,
well, I think a little bit of what you're talking about is along the lines of feeling rewarded in life. what do you do to satisfy? You can frame it in terms of your Christian faith, what do you feel led to do, but what do you find fulfillment in?
Can you ask that a little bit more specifically?
Sure. What do you do so that Jeff likes the person that he is?
Huh. Uber honesty, man, with myself. I just very, very raw and very real and transparent honesty.
I like that.
Sometimes it's hard to communicate that honesty with the world. The world does not always need to agree with what I think. I don't need agreeance. But part of that is being real right with that right there, because sometimes you can't just live your life in a bubble and everybody else can go jump in the lake, because you're not going to be able to fulfill the best version of yourself if you keep yourself isolated in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that that's going to happen.
No man is an island.
Mm-hmm.
What I particularly believe in the Bible, and man was created first and alone, and that was the first time that God said it's not good. Man needed a partner, needed a mate, needed a helper. And so he created woman from us. And so the best version of yourself is you partnering with somebody. You doing something with somebody else. You and not just with somebody else, but for somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be the best that it could be unless you're doing it with or for somebody.
That's science. We are hardwired for that connection.
There's no way that it works without community.
Mm-hmm.
So my fulfillment comes from being true to myself about my intentions and my purposes.
That's going to be a clip that we're going to put on TikTok, I do believe. That's good, man. That's real good. What you got, Drew?
It's just, again, I'm fascinated by how people are led or drawn to personal improvement that aren't in recovery from substance abuse problems.
Yeah. So full transparency here.
Sure.
I don't have.
You've been getting high.
I shot up heroin in the car before I came in here, boys.
You got some of that yak out there, don't you?
I've never been a marijuana usage very recreationally. Whenever I was young was the only time that was consistent. The closest thing to any hard that I've ever done was a joint laced with cocaine one time. That's the closest.
Oh, you're going to
pretty
hell.
good now.
You are going to hell.
And it was once. And I knew about it beforehand. They told me. They didn't get me. I probably borderline alcoholic in my 20s whenever I was going through separation and divorce with my ex-wife. Drank a lot. But the real addiction that I had that was a real problem that there wasn't enough of. There could not be enough, and that was attention from women. Mm-hmm. Like I used to go way out of my way to find attention from strange women that I didn't know and would never know again. And usually it was never sex. It was just their attention. Most of the time it was never sex.
Have you ever, with the help of a therapist or just self reflection, identified what the root cause of that need for that topical or that affection, for lack of a better term?
So
where did that stem from? Because it stemmed from somewhere.
Believe it or not, I was a runt whenever I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 13, I was 5'2", and whenever I was 15, I was 6'2".
Whoa.
Yeah. I was kind of a weird kid. I liked things in order, and
how was your relationship with your mother?
Good. It was relationship with my dad was better, but my relationship with Mama wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. We had a stable childhood. No typical parenting issues that normally would cause that. Most of it was I got picked on and bullied a lot whenever I was little and growing up. And then I went to school here at Richland. It was a small school back then. My graduating class was 67 kids. There was like 20-something of us that were 12 years at Richland. Everybody knew everybody. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends at the school. Most of the girls that I dated in high school all went to other schools because they didn't know that I was a weird kid whenever I was little.
When you say weird, just real quick, what is that? What does weird look like to you? Because I was really weird, and I just want to compare what my weird is compared to your weird.
So I was quick to emotion.
Okay.
Whenever I was little.
Reactive, highly reactive? Or no?
Just not highly reactive, just highly sensitive. Mm-hmm. Pain. Obviously, I would cry, but there was more.
Mm-hmm. Deeper than that.
Than normal.
Yeah.
I use that word again. Nobody else was crying like I cried. Okay. I was the only one.
Was this crying as a result of not feeling adequate or not feeling as though you're good enough to be loved, and then where was that? I'm curious where that stemmed from. The crying specifically.
I felt like that was the only emotion that was appropriate for me to show. Because I was small, I was weaker. I mean, I'm gonna get mad, right, and then get beat up even more. So it was kind of a defense mechanism, I think.
So if you cried, they would
leave me alone.
Leave you alone.
Have
That's
mercy.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they would stop. Whenever that.
So it's a coping mechanism.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not coping as much as just defensive.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then when you popped up to 6'2", did you experience a shift in?
Not. So obviously I'm not getting picked on anymore.
Right.
Right. I'm a sophomore,
big fella. Yeah.
sophomore, junior, and I wasn't big. I was just tall.
Sure.
I was 6'2", 155 pounds.
So that's a far cry from 5'2".
It is. And
I really thought you meant nobody's picking on me now. Like,
I think we can be very certain of that.
So high school growth spurt, all of that kind of went away, and I had friends. I had groups that I hung out with. I had buddies, and so it wasn't like that. I didn't have. I was an athlete.
Did you excel?
Yeah. For the most part, quarterback in high school. weren't that good. We didn't win a lot of games, but
But you experienced
I was-
leadership on the field.
I was a good athlete.
Yeah.
My senior year, I had close to as many rushing touchdowns as the starting tailback did as the quarterback.
Sweet.
So couldn't throw the ball real well, but I could run. I was pretty quick. I was agile. You get us inside the 5-yard line, and
You make it happen.
I'm getting in the end zone.
Mhm.
I had that determination there, and so, so that I had that going for me. But that female attention, as I got out of high school and kind of got out into the world, because they didn't know who I was,
Right.
that was pretty different for me. And whenever I started getting that, it was a drug, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it satisfied something in me that I didn't even know needed to be satisfied.
Right.
So I went years, years and years. Just that was what I was chasing, that attention. And again, most of the time it was never sexual. It never ended in sex. But it was, just that attention, that flirtation, and knowing that if I put the time and energy there, that it could be if I wanted it to be.
Right.
So
Did you find that once a woman would show some interest in you, would her attention begin to diminish? Was it more
My
about the
need.
chase? Yeah. Was it more about the chase, or once you quote unquote landed a chick, were you continuously satisfied with the level that you were with, or were you constantly pushing for more, or were you just at peace with having
So-
a lot of friend girls?
So I got married early, 18.
Oh,
And so I was married during this whole time. Chasing.
No
women.
18-year-old man should be married.
agreed.
There's not too many 18-year-old men out there.
No 18.
That's right.
No
That's right.
18-year-old.
18-year-old males.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't do it.
yeah. Hey, but that experience
So-
taught you something.
So that was why. So to answer your question, there was, I was never just I wouldn't just drop them cold and then wondering what happened. Right. I was never, a dick.
You were a nice guy.
I was a nice guy.
You were just you needed that attention.
Yeah.
You loved that attention.
Loved it. Craved it.
Didn't need it necessarily, but you loved it.
Yeah. So I was not, it would have been inconvenient to try to pursue relationships outside of my marriage. I never
Sure.
did pursue relationships. Could have. A couple times there was small, short flings that would last longer than normal. But that was the exception, not the rule.
This was with your first wife?
Yes.
Was she also 18?
She
Were
was
you-
19.
She was
Yeah.
19. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So how long were y'all together?
All
first marriage?
together.
How long were you married?
We were together. We were married and cohabitating, living together for 7.5 years.
Okay.
It took a couple more years after that to get the divorce finalized.
Sure.
Very, very ugly, very drawn out. But yeah, so 8 years, 8-year relationship, close to it.
So have you experienced a shift in that that need for female attention? Have you kind of settled into the man that you are today, and you realize that maybe that's not something that you absolutely need, but you can appreciate and love that attention from your wife? Or what is it like today?
Yeah.
What's the contrast there?
I don't need that. Let me back up and say, I still need that fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
But because of my particular drug of choice, I'm able to, satisfy that within the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's always this definite, not a marriage podcast, but there's always challenges and everything. And we've been December this year, we'll be married 16 years.
Wow.
So, good years, bad years, ebbs and flows. Right now, we're probably in the best year of our marriage so far, I would say, in my particular opinion. Way more good weeks than bad weeks. Most of the time we have like bad half days.
Sure.
Where used to it was, bad days and weeks. And,
Right.
that would get strung out into months and then, a whole bad year. But yeah, that thing that we look to fulfill, that voided space that anybody who has experienced, an insatiable addiction to something, it doesn't matter what it is, substances or, adventure junkies, right? It doesn't matter. There's a void somewhere. There's a hole, and we're looking to fill that. And I don't think we ever get away from the need to fill that space. We have to find productive, and sometimes we have to be creative and legal, healthy means of filling that space.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree.
Yep.
And I think maybe that's what I was getting towards with the feeling fulfilled thing, because that's something I've really been focusing on this go round of my sobriety. We ain't got a shit ton of time left, but I am curious.
We can take however much y'all need.
What I've met your wife a couple times. Never spoken to her beyond,
Hey, how are
customary pleasantries. Does she enjoy the learning that you do, the self-reflection, insightful analysis, behavior contemplation that you do?
I believe she does. She, in tenderer moments, she confesses appreciation for the fact that I've done those things. So yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Well, that ought to make it easier to get through things.
Again, it comes back to me being super realistic to what my goal is. And do I do the things that I do because of the reaction that I may or may not get from my wife? If you're living in a healthy companionship, if you've got a healthy partnership with anybody, you do certain things because it's going to be favorable with your partner, with your spouse.
Sure.
Right?
Every relationship takes sacrifices.
But I think, and we have experienced this, I think that whenever there's an unrealistic expectation of, to make it contractual, right? Like I've got deliverable obligations. That's not healthy.
Right.
And I think both of us have drawn the lines over the years about what it's okay to expect from one another. I think the problem is it comes up and leads to us looking in unhealthy ways for satisfaction. Is we don't, for one, we're not realistic with ourselves about our intentions, our purposes for doing certain things. Two, we allow ourselves to be manipulated into doing things that we really don't want to do. And then there's this animosity that builds because of that. And so in the back of our heads, we're doing these things and we're getting frustrated and aggravated with our spouse because we're not getting the feedback that we think we should get, and we're sitting there doing all of this stuff, right. and I don't even want to be doing it, and I'm doing it anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Feeling unappreciated.
Yeah.
And so just being
like, I'm the only one rowing this boat.
Yeah.
Just being realistic
right.
about what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and what, like, I do things for my wife because I want to do them, not because she expects me to.
Right.
Because there's some things she expects me to do and I don't do because I don't want to do it.
Right.
And we have that conversation and vice versa.
Right.
You know, so
100%.
I ain't taking that garbage out. That garbage will sit there all week.
That's what's great about having a 15-year-old. Riley, will you please get that trash? Yes. Riley, will you please mow the yard? Yes. Oh man, it's so great. It's so great. We are right at
right. I see the timer over there.
Yeah,
We're
we are
right on the dot.
Time. Jeff, thank you so much for coming and talking with us and spending some time with us and
being willing to share.
Right, exactly. Hopefully something that we talked about today can be helpful to somebody out there. And,
I know it will.
Be realistic.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think
absolutely. We always love to, for our guests, try to help them out as much as possible. If somebody's needing some dirt work done, how do they get in touch with you? And what's the name of the company one more time?
Down to Earth Dirt Work.
Okay.
Facebook is the best way. I've got a Down to Earth Dirt Work Facebook page dedicated to that, before and afters for everything that I do. Going into my 5th year of business.
Awesome.
We can do big stuff, little stuff. If I can't get it done, I know people who can. So driveways, clearings, just worked with another guy building my first pond last month.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
Woo!
So yeah, Facebook, check us out there. Drop a follow and a like, comment on anything that you see. Reach out on Messenger.
100%. Thank you so much, brother.
Brother, thank you.
Hey,
thanks, Jeff, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen,
y'all.
Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us for the hour. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.